It's always good to look at Israel due to the fact that the whole point of Jacob's trouble is for Israel. The whole point of the tribulation is to get Israel back to Jesus, the true Messiah. So, we're going to focus on Israel. And so we got a couple things coming out. One is Israel is now preparing for their next step in gas exports. So we've talked about this before, where they got the Karish gas rig going up, and they're sending gas through Egypt and into Europe. Well, Israel is now looking at this opportunity. In case you don't know, Europe is still in a serious energy crisis, even though that doesn't seem to be getting talked about like it was before. They are not any better off than they were before. So Israel is seeing this opportunity as a chance to get in and start taking care of this. So Israel is collaborating with Egypt, Greece, and Cyprus to significantly boost exports to Europe. These projects include directly exporting to Europe and Asia. So right now they have to kind of have like a deal with Egypt where it's getting sent into Egypt and then Egypt is getting it to Europe. Well, now they're going to be working on a system where it can just Israel, there's going to be no middleman. Egypt, of course, will still benefit from this because it's going to have to go through their land. But Israel's working on a way where they can just get it straight to Europe. So right now they plan to get this up and running as soon as possible due to not wanting to miss the opportunity. And because of the several month delay on the Karish gas rig before, there's kind of an international view that Israel may not be as serious as they say they are. People are a little skeptical on if they're going to be able to follow through with what they want to do. This is important that we pay attention. This is important that we pay attention to this because I believe one of the hooks in the jaw to bring the Ezekiel 38 coalition, Russia, Turkey, Iran, Sudan, Libya. I believe one of the hooks, because hooks is plural, one of the hooks is going to be the fact that Israel is so rich in gas, but they're also replacing Russia's spot as one of the big gas exporters. So I think this is going to play a part into that. Now, the projects under discussion include pipelines connecting Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt, along with two liquefaction facilities. Man, that's a tongue twister. One in Cyprus and one off the Israeli coastline. This would replace the old idea of the proposed East Med pipeline to Europe, and Israel would deliver via tankers. So they originally had a plan going where Israel would they would build the East Med pipeline, which is a massive pipeline that would go down through Egypt, across Cyprus, and into Europe. But they don't want to do that anymore. They're thinking we can do this faster and cheaper if we just send it straight into Egypt and Cyprus, and then Israeli tankers would send it into Europe from there. So it's going to be quicker and cheaper. The liquefaction facility would expand the Leviathan natural gas field, which is Israel's largest gas field, and would allow export to Europe and parts of Asia. So now they're starting to get into Asian territory for that. This method would be quicker and less expensive than direct pipeline. Here's where it's interesting. They want to have this project up and running in 3 years. In 3 years. Interesting. It's just an interesting number because we know what happens at 3.5 years in the tribulation. I think, of course, obviously, Ezekiel 38 would probably happen sooner than that, but still, it's very interesting that they would do it in 3 years. So that's kind of a interesting proponent there. So that's what's going on as far as this is the Israeli gas stuff. Like I said, this is probably going to anger Russia even more than they already are at Israel. In case you haven't noticed, Russia's not happy with Israel on a lot of the decisions that they're making as far as what they've been doing in Syria and what they've been doing with Ukraine and all that stuff. So this is probably going to start adding more onto that. And yeah, we'll see what happens from there. So another thing coming out of Israel is the Israel Antiques Authority, the Israel National Parks Authority, and the City of David Foundation will begin the excavation of the Pool of Siloam in December. So the excavation of the Pool of Siloam in December. Wow. talk about wow. So this would be in the southern portion of the city of David, and of course it was a significant part of Jerusalem's water system, and it's also the reservoir for the Gihon spring. In 2004, a few steps of the pool were found, but due to the land being private, they were unable to excavate. So they found the pool in 2004, but they have not been able to do anything about it because who owned the land, they wouldn't allow them to do it. I think some company or group from Greece owned that territory, I think. I don't have it written down in my notes, but I believe that's what it is. But they found this pool in 2004. This is significant for several reasons. Well, one, we know from Scripture in John, this is the same pool that Jesus told the blind man to wash, and he healed him. So this is when Jesus took the mud, rubbed it on the man's eyes, and he said, go to the Pool of Siloam, wash your eyes out, and you will be able to see. And Jesus healed him, and he used the Pool of Siloam for that. So this is pretty significant. Now, as far as how this could play into prophecy and what's coming forward is we talked about this in October of last year. It's important to note that the Pool of Siloam is part of the water libation tradition, a part of the temple ceremonies that they do. This is part of the temple ceremonies that they do. The water libation is where they get together. They have a special jug that they use. They get their instruments, and they go through a certain specific path down through to get water from the Pool of Siloam, and then they take it back up to the temple. It's part of their tradition. They just did a reenactment of that in October, and so now they're talking about excavating the Pool of Siloam, which will be done, or they're going to begin in December. You're talking about something that plays into being used for the third temple. So this is a pretty significant thing to pay attention to as far as that goes. So, yeah, we're talking about something that could play into, we talked about the red heifers. We talked about the train that's getting done for it. We talked about how, the temple could be, they've already got position where it'll be next to the Dome of the Rock, and it's has the perfect measurements. Do I still have that verse? Is it this one? Hold on. Yeah, Revelation 11, 1 through 3. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles. So we already talked about that too, where the temple's going to go next to the Dome of the Rock, but they're going to have to leave out the outer court because it belongs to the Gentiles. It's exactly how Revelation 11 tells us it's going to happen. There is a lot of things pointing towards this third temple, and the excavation of the Pool of Siloam and how it plays in for the water libation is also another very significant thing. So this is as far as that goes, in my opinion. So that's what I got for Israel. There's the gas stuff and the Pool of Siloam and all that jazz. So, guys, always focus on Israel. Continue to look at Israel. Well, focus on Jesus, but watch Israel, because we know we're going to be getting the signs from Israel, and it's about them. So, good stuff. Good stuff.